Today we are going to review factor by grouping. We will be using this to help us factor quadratics and then to help us solve solutions of quadratics. So the standards for this are going to be for algebra 1 or for algebraic reasoning or for algebra 2. Again, this is just a review. So first we're going to start off our rules for factor by grouping. If you have 4 terms with no GCF, so we look at these values and there's nothing that I can factor out of all of them, I'm going to go ahead and group the first 2 and I'm going to group the second 2, and I want to make sure that there is a sign in between them. So if this is a positive sign, you can leave it in the middle. If it's not a positive sign, you're going to want to add a positive sign here so that this can keep its sign. Okay, now we're on step 2. We're going to factor out the GCF from each binomial. So look at these, I can already see that I can factor out an x, and I also have to look at those numbers 2 and 8. What can I factor out of 2 and 8? Well, my greatest common factor is a 2. And I'm going to factor that out and I'm going to put it to the front. So I'm going to have a 2x factored out. So 2x squared divided by 2x is x, and 8x divided by 2x is 4. Now my second set, I'm looking right here, I have a 3x and a 12. My greatest common factor of 3x and 12 is 3. And I do like to write it under both of them. I don't have to, but it just helps me make sure I divide both of them. And I'm going to bring it to the front with that sign that is there. When I factor out a 3, I'm left with x plus 4. Very important that if it's factorable and if I've done it correctly, then these two things should be the same. So now that I know that that's going to be one of my factors, but I can also group the 2x plus 3 together. So I'm going to go ahead and group the 2x plus 3 in one parentheses and the x plus 4 in the other parentheses. Could this binomial be switched around? Could I put the x plus 4 first? The answer is yes. Okay, so that doesn't affect your answer. Okay. So same concept. Pause it here if you want to check. First things first, I'm going to look for that positive sign. If it's there, great. If it's not, I need to write a positive sign. I can group the first 2, group the second 2. And now I'm going to look for GCF. Both of these have an x in common. And I actually don't see a number that I can factor out because nothing can be factored out of 2 and 1. So I'm going to factor out just an x. I'm left with 2x minus 1. In the second parentheses, I have an 8x minus 4. I can factor out a 4. And when I factor out that 4, it goes in front of those parentheses, and I'm left with 2x minus 1. Remember the rule, if the parentheses are the same, that is one of my factors. And I'm going to go ahead and this time put it in the front, just to show you that it won't matter. And then my variable and constant in front will actually make the other binomial. This is how we factor by grouping. And just for practice, we're going to keep going. We're going to practice one more. And so where I said, what's the first thing we look for is that there's supposed to be a positive sign here. Since there's not a positive sign, I am going to write a positive sign in front of the minus. I have to do this in order to group correctly. I see some students say put parentheses and there's no sign in between it. Mathematically, that's not correct. So now here I am again, just looking for that GCF. The first parentheses typically has that x that you can take out, and I look at 2 and 4, and I can factor out a 2. So in front is 2x. When I factor out a 2x, I'm left with x and 2. I want this negative factored out, so I'm going to factor that out. But so what goes into 8 and 16, my greatest common factor is going to be an 8. But again, you need to factor out that negative. I want that out. So when I pull that out, now I can write negative 8. And I am left with x plus 2. My parentheses are the same. That is one of my factors. My other binomial is going to be those coefficients right there, that 2x minus 8. Okay, so now the whole point of that factor by grouping is if we have 4 terms. Well, what do we do if we only have 3 terms? Well, we got to turn these 3 terms into 4 terms. So I'm going to do factors of AC, whose sum is B. I went ahead and wrote that there for us. So now I want to go ahead and label my quadratic A, B, and C. This is already in standard form, so I was good to go. I also noted, even though I didn't talk about it, that there was not a greatest common factor. That should always be something I look for. So no GCF, I can move on to this table. I'm going to multiply 2 times negative 9. And 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. That was this value and this value. Now my B value is right here in the middle. So whatever factors I choose have to add up to 3. So 18, I like to start with the 1 and 18. Then I go down to 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Those are all my factors. Now this tells me that one of them must be negative. So I have to put a negative somewhere or a minus sign because they have to add up to 3. So 6 and 3 I know can give me 3. So where do I put my negative? Well, I want it to be negative 3 plus 6 because negative 3 plus 6 does give me positive 3. That is how this factor right here in the middle turns into negative 3x plus 6x. I'm going to still bring down that negative 9 that was there. I'm going to bring down the 2x squared that was there. Now we're back to what we're doing previously with that factor by grouping. I'm going to group the first 2. I'm going to group the second 2, and it does have that plus sign in the middle. First one, I can factor out an x. I cannot factor out any number. I'm left with 2x minus 3. On the second one, I can factor out a 3. So I'm going to pull that out and put that in front with the plus sign. And now I have 2x minus 3. Great. I have common factors. That makes me feel good because it lets me know that it is factorable and I did it correctly. 2x minus 3 is one of my factors. And my coefficients create my other factor. So this is how you factor with 3 terms. Hopefully this helps you, and if you need more videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be updating with more videos soon.